Okay, Gems, this is Topaz here, head of the funding department. What, you never knew that us Gems had a funding department? Anyway, I'm here to also serve as babysitter because we need signatures to go on a trip. You see, last time somebody blew up the science wing, we believe it was Fos, and now we have to get Sensei Kongo's signature on everything so that we can go outside again. To collect money to protect us from the Lunarians. Anyway, while you're out there, make sure the Lunarians don't eat us, and here's some warning tips from Alexandrite. You know, the moon one. It says that Lunarians use strong language that might not be suitable for all audiences, and that listeners' discretion is advised. Now, I know we've been around for forever, but, yeah, we still don't know everything, and, Fos is a baby. Second, it says that Lunarians will spoil all of Land of the Lustrous, as well as any other anime, so that listener discretion is also advised. And if you're curious, you can go ahead and check out all of Land of the Lustrous before coming back to listen to this episode. And finally, it says that remember that as you're collecting money so that we can rebuild our science department, that the opinions you express are your own and do not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Alright, I think that covers everything for today's meeting. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go make sure I don't get grinded into bits. Topaz out. Hello, one and all, and welcome to Rock Talk, a group where a bunch of non-binary gems get on the beach, sing some songs, and fight the aliens that are coming from space to murder us all. My name is Ruby Megan, and with me tonight I have Diamond Amon.
Hello.
And Garnet Zen.
Hello, everybody.
Now tonight we are going to be talking about something that's a little bit different from us all. Now, whenever you hear things about non-binary rocks, I know that you're thinking, wow, I didn't know about these guys talked about Western shows. That's right, guys! Tonight we are finally going to do that Steven Universe episode.
But I already covered Steven Universe.
I'm glad we're getting this bit out of the way now.
Yeah, guys, we're finally just doing Land of the Lustrous. I just had to make a Steven Universe joke. However, we are still talking about non-binary space rocks.
This is a true
fact. That have voices of women.
With shapely backsides.
Yeah, I forgot about that rewatching this show. These rocks have very nice asses.
I mean, if you're a booty girl like I am, I mean, it was pretty nice.
Just the part where they're all, in the winter sleep and the one's just, face down, ass up asleep. I was like, you're the one I sleep like. Or I'm just bored and I'm gonna try to kill you in my sleep. So tonight we are gonna talk about the Sentai Filmworks release of Land of the Lustrous. I have, obviously, if you haven't guessed by their voices, Amon and Zen with me tonight. So, there's a couple things about Land of the Lustrous. One, this is basically an entire CGI show by Studio Orange, and when most people hear anime and CGI, they start crying. Please don't! Only cry because the plot of the show is really good. Speaking of which, the plot as of the back of the Sentai Filmworks release goes as follows. No matter what the odds, life will find a way to continue, with young Fos and the other gems as the ultimate proof. Instead of flesh, their bodies are made up of living crystal, allowing them to survive in a world too toxic for any human. But their gem bodies are also attract a terrible danger, the Lunarians, who hunt the gems and use their shattered forms to fabricate jewelry and ornaments. The gems with the strongest forms defend the other, but Fos is too weak and brittle to fight. Instead, Fos is ordered to compile an encyclopedia, but could that research discover a hidden secret that could help the gems? Join Fos, the toxic Cinnabar, and the powerful Void, and the valiant Diamond, and the other glittering in the world unlike anything you've ever seen before in Land of the Lustrous. So, welcome to a world where one gem with a name like a mouthful determines not to break and discovers along the way that changing yourself may not always be for the better. It might be quite depressing.
Oh, you bet.
Poor Fos.
Poor Fos. Eventually one of us is gonna say their full name, but I'm gonna say Fos because I ain't butchering that shit until the very end of this episode.
Fosfolito.
Phosphorite. I don't envy anybody in this show. So tonight we are going to be doing a full review of the show, meaning that there are no predictions for the cast. We will be talking about as much of the cast as we can. This is an incredibly large cast of characters that we can unfortunately not talk about all of them due to the fact that many of them speak maybe like a line of dialogue. Also, we don't want to keep you here forever, and a geology lesson that may drive you mentally insane. So, we are going to cover as much as we can, starting with the director and writer of this series. Also, I do want to point out that for the sake of pronouns, the show uses they, them, and I believe that translation goes all the way into the manga, who Amon works at the comic shop, I believe is released by 7 Seas.
Is it? No, this might be a Kodansha title, actually.
Yeah, I believe it's Kodansha.
I forget who puts this out. If it's not Kodansha, it's Vertical, which is just Kodansha. So it's one or the other.
Which is just Kodansha, but
it's
Kodansha, but more.
It used to be a separate company, and then Kodansha bought it. So
this is Kodansha, but purple.
This is Kodansha, but pretentious.
Look, just because it's true doesn't mean you should say it.
I get my ass it is Kodansha. So Kodansha's gonna find this podcast and send the Kodansha Mafia after me, even though I buy a lot of their releases.
The Kodansha?
They released To Your Eternity. Which is like one of the best manga out right now. So, so we're gonna start with, like I said, the director and writers of this series. The director of Land of the Lustrous' dub is one Mr. Kyle Colby Jones. The writers of this series are Kyle Colby Jones pulling double duty, as well as Marta Bechtel. Kyle Colby Jones you will know as the director for many of Sentai's series, but just to give a couple of examples would be Devil's Line, Parasite the Maximum, and Haikyuu, all 3 seasons of it. Kyle Colby Jones has also written for series such as Haven't You Heard on Sakamoto, Amnesia, and Akame ga Kill. And Marta Bechtel has written for series such as Surene, Devil's Line, and Squid Girl. Now we're going to put an order together for tonight, so we're going to start off with Zenith, then Amon, and finish up with myself. So Zenith, if you would like to take away your thoughts on Kyle's directing and Kyle and Marta's writing.
Remind me again, Kyle Colby Jones did Food Wars, correct?
Yes, he did direct Food Wars.
Ah, okay. So yeah, he directed Food Wars, and I really like that, and to be honest, I think what he does really well is stick to the spirit of the original sub. For those who don't know, I watched the original sub before watching the dub, and I didn't see any major differences. I didn't see anything that really stood out. Nothing that really detracted from the experience, but he does a good job of directing them to make a very similar show, and honestly, I think he did a great job.
Awesome. Do you have any same feelings about the writing team as well?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice anything that stood out to me. Like, not that stood out to me as bad, like a really glaring change, but it to me, it did its job of staying true to the original sub and true to what the feel of the original was. So honestly, it's like watching the same show. I loved it.
Awesome. Amon, your thoughts?
I enjoyed this dub a lot. I thought the direction and casting I thought was very well. Obviously, there's a lot of characters in this show, to varying degrees of line length and importance and so on. But I thought it was very well filled out. I thought that they did a good job of making the characters sound distinct from each other. Like I never had that feeling of like if I looked away from the screen where I couldn't figure out who was on screen having a conversation. And I thought everyone sounded very well. I thought the writing was it sounded like very natural, very strong. I didn't watch it in the subtitle prior to doing this, so I can't do a direct comparison. But I thought it sounded very good. There were jokes, which I appreciate. And I thought they both did a good job of just balancing out a very large cast, and also just Lustrous goes through a lot. Like it starts off pretty light and then goes some places after a while. and I'm always impressed by directors and writers who can achieve that shift in tone but still make the show feel consistent. And I thought they did that very well. As well, if I have a complaint, and put really big air quotes around complaint. It's that this reminds me of other like good dubs with big casts, like Star Blazers 2199, where like often if I have a hard part, it's that a lot of the direction and performances are like good, but in a very kind of like even way where it's sometimes hard to pick out a standout. Not so much with this show because this is a main character; it's not just an ensemble cast. But there's a lot of like performances that are very good, but I can't necessarily articulate why beyond like this is a good performance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was very happy with it.
I think this is pardon the pun, because they're made of gemstones. This is a very solid dub.
Is it rock solid?
There are some cracks in it, just like Fos's legs and body
and face.
and everything. Being Fosfulite is suffering. Just Fos laying on the beach with Cinnabar, frickin' end of Evangelion style. Anarch's head in the water. So I think that Zen, that you really nailed it, where this kept to a lot of the spirit of the sub. This is not a dub that that a lot of people who are super purist can go and say, like, this is a bad dub. It's like, it's not. It keeps the spirit of a show that has a lot going on underneath its surface there, and does it very respectfully, and does it very beautifully. I think the writing that Marta did on the show, and Kyle did on the show, was great. Cat, I swear to God, what the hell are you doing in this room? Once again, Shinya decides that she needs to be a part of an episode. I'm
a cat. I have to be here. Love me, mommy.
I'm gonna knock Fos off the table and break her. Thank God there's no cats in this world. Thank God. Half them gems would be fucked.
Just dogs.
One dog. One that turns into a lot of little dogs.
Oh yeah.
Not to be confused with the Watermelon Stevens. But the real thing for me is that with an ensemble cast, and especially this one, like, Amon kind of brought it up with Yamato, that, like, sometimes you're like, who the fuck is in this show? No, really, like, I could not name half of the actresses that were in the show, and that's not a bad thing. Some of them there are a couple of actresses where you can tell that they are very new to voice acting. Like, when I looked up the credits for at least two of the actresses that we're talking about tonight, they had no other credits to their name at all. There's one performance that I am just, like, I think it's really good. I just completely couldn't get into it. And for me, it's just like, this is a really, really good dub that I have, like, minor nitpicks with. And the biggest thing that I think kind of really got me about this was that this and another show that Sentai had picked up that were considered the two of the best in the year that this came out, which I believe is 2017, both had dubs released relatively, like, within a couple of months apart from each other. The other one being Made in Abyss. And I think the Made in Abyss dub is, like, phenomenal. And I think that my expectations going into this, after hearing how good Made in Abyss's dub was, might have hampered my own enjoyment of this. Like, and no, everyone's probably like, why don't you think this is the best thing ever? It's like, no, it's really, really good, and I, like, definitely encourage people, if you've never watched the show, to watch it and watch the dub, because it's a really good dub. It's just, like, a dub that's like, yeah, this is really good and really enjoyable to listen to. Didn't blow my socks off, but it also wasn't god-awful, and, like, made me want to change back to the sub. There's just, like, one performance that I just could not get into, and I just don't know why.
Yeah, like, it's one of those, like, it doesn't, blow my legs off. It doesn't, it wasn't in my top 10, but it does enough good that I'm just like, I could listen to it no matter what.
Yeah, like, I would easily, like, if I wanted to show this to somebody who does not watch subtitles, or, like, maybe who watches stuff casually, I could put this on and this dub would be really good for, like, that. It's not, like, for me, actually, it helped me understand a lot more of the story. Because it was also in a language that I understood and did not have to, like, wait a second, what they just said, rewind, catch the subtitles, is like, because there are some scenes where there are, like, 4, 5, 6, 7 gems talking, it's like, oh my god, who the fuck is who? I will say my one other nitpick is that because all of these characters are ageless sentient rocks that do have different ages, but they all have, like, the relatively, like, the same body and, like, look in their ages, I do think some of the ages are a little bit hard to tell because the vocal work is so inconsistent, and I don't know if it's just because, like, they were trying to get more of the personality across as opposed to the age, but again, that's just, like, a minor nitpick for me. Otherwise, this is, like, really, really good work from everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the first section we're gonna do is some of the other gems that live on this island at the school with Fos and the gang. These sections are probably going to be super, super quick. So, the first set of gems we have is Alexandrite, who can be described as moon otaku. She likes Lunarians and researches them. There is Zychron, a gem the same age as Fos, who is trying to become stronger and get over her past selfish self. And then we have Morga and Goshenite, who are two of the first gems that you see in the show, and are initially kind of the first two that are around Fos as they start their encyclopedic journey. Playing Alexandrite, we have Shelby Blocker. Playing Zychron, we have Brittany Karbowski. Playing Morga, we have Olivia Swayze. And playing Goshenite, we have Juliet Simmons. So, Shelby Blocker you'll know as characters such as Anya in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Hitomi Minagawa in Camphor, and Lizolet Sherlock in Trinity 7. Brittany Karbowski you'll know as characters such as Karen Ijo in Review Starlight, Rin Natsume in Little Busters, and Chizuru Yukimura in Hakuoki. Olivia Swayze you'll know as characters such as Maya Tendo in Review Starlight, Katrina Toby in Release the Splice, and Momoga in Girls und Panzer. And Juliet Simmons you'll know as Nini Arisufa in Anonymous Noise, Tanaka in Haven't You Heard I'm Sakanodo, and Yuri in Girls Last Tour. So, Zenith, if you want to kick us off with the segment of gems.
I think they all did a pretty good job, for the most part. Morga and Gauche, they don't really do too much aside from being background, and I think they're pretty good in their roles. And Alex and Zircon, they show up at random times. Overall, I thought their voices suited them. Nothing really stood out, but they were all very suited for their roles.
Alright, and Amon?
Yeah, no, these are a fine set of performances. I kind of agree most of them in part just because like these are some of the characters who show up a little less often. They don't stand out quite as much, but they're good, solid performances. I particularly liked the parts that Zircon was having towards the end, where they've been like partnering up with Bort, and they're very concerned about that. And Voss is like, "You're overthinking this. Just Bort, if you're fucking up, Bort will let you know. Don't worry about it so much." I thought that was a nice bit, and I enjoyed Shelby as Alexandrite a lot, just because Alexandrite's a big nerd, and I'm also a big nerd, so I'm about a thing that no one else they know cares about. So I feel that it's hard being a fandom of one. And I enjoyed Sylvie's performance a lot. I thought she was very good there too. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Shelby is the one person who, despite being in a lot of things I actually learned when I went to their ANN page, I don't think I'd ever actually watched the show that she had been in at Sentai until this point. Which can define a lot of people in the show.
I have that problem every time I watch a Sentai show. It's like, you really get a lot of work. I just don't watch your dubbing studio very often.
Or particularly, sorry. I don't watch this type of show that you're in because it's not the type of show appeals to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel bad, because it's like, I actually liked all of these. Shelby, I would say, kind of threw me for a loop a little tiny bit, because again, I'm not used to her voice and her work. So at points I was like, are you just like a little too zany? And then I remembered, oh wait, Lexi's a fucknut.
She's crazy.
One of my favorite like lines in the show at one point is Lexi, when she sees a Lunarian, their hair goes red, and they kind of like go Super Saiyan for a moment, and they help take out all the giant Lunarian dog Shiro, and just Bort comes in and goes, "Oh, it's Red Lexi," and Lexi's just kind of like on the ground, like face down, butt up again. And just the moment, I think, also, too, is that really kind of sold me on her Shelby's performance as Alexandra, is Fos and her doing the studying. And Fos eventually turns the table on Lexi, and Lexi's, like, laying down on the table going, it was this, like, very scientifically named Lunarian, and Shelby got it off talking about that and using this very, like, made-up scientific-y term without it coming off really stiff. Brittany Karbowski's as Zychron was adorable, very youthful, contrasted really well with the Fos that we see at the towards the end of the show after, like, a bunch of shit has happened to Fos. And then Morga and Goshenite are both really well suited to their roles. They don't sound out of place. They don't try to overpower their part in the ensemble. I think Juliet and Olivia bring a lot of fun to them, because especially Goshenite is, I think, kind of the more sassy one.
She is sassy.
She's kind of the more sassy bitch of them, who's, like, giving Fos more shit than anybody towards the beginning of the show. And then they kind of fade off into the background as things go. So, this group 2 is kind of more of the background gems that are there. Obviously, once we kind of get, like, after this point on is where we're going to start really getting into the meat of the characters that really exist in this, and or at least, like, super affect the plot. So we have Jade, who essentially is Sensei's secretary, one of the hardest gems that's there, and is usually poor Rulite's bitch stick, too. Being Jade is also suffering. We have Euclides, who is kind of the one that goes half blue, half gray, who is, the only way I can describe them is as Jade's girlfriend. They're also the gem that gets, like, this one really, really long sequence of them being, like, half naked at one point, too, and I was like, wow, they are just lingering on Euclides being buck-ass naked in this show. Yellow Diamond, Grandma. Yellow Diamond is Sonic the Gen Grandma. She's one of the oldest gems that is there. They're one of the oldest gems that's there. Is Zychron's partner. They go fast. They gotta go fast. And then, talking about two characters played by the same person, there are the Amethyst Twins, 84 and 33. They do the creepy twin thing and smack their heads against each other because it won't crack. So, playing Jade is Heidi Hinkle, playing Euclides is Serena Verghese, playing Yellow Diamond is Allison Sumerall, and playing the Amethyst Twins is Teresa Zimmerman. Heidi Hinkle was characters such as Minami Kita in Doregu, Yukihime and Yukio Holder, and Miranda in Mysterious Friends. Serena Verghese is Yun in Kanon, Rebecca in Kiba, and Rosetta Passel in Kaleidostar. Allison Sumerall you'll know as characters such as Kagura in Azumagadayo, Saya in Tanaka-kun, and this is a fucking name that I found. Thank you, Tamako Market. Choi Mochi Mazawi in Tamako Market, and for Teresa, that's an actual name.
That is
name. Up there with my favorite discovery of Andy W. Hole. Andy W. Hole goes down as my favorite anime name. And Teresa Zimmerman has no other known roles up until Land of the Lustrous. So this is their first time. So, Zen, if you would like to start us off talking about these gems.
I think the standout performance of this group for me was Jade. I think she did a really good job standing out from the rest of the group. She was granted she is always being smacked around by Rutile, so she does get a lot more to do. But like, I really like the intonality that she has. She definitely has this scientific air about her. And for the most part, I really did enjoy her performance. Yellow Diamond and Euclase were not as much an entity for me. I think they did good performance-wise, but they didn't do too much for me. And the Amethyst Twins I liked because they did the creepy cold twin thing, and I think they did a fantastic job at doing that.
Awesome. Amon.
Yeah, these are also very solid performances. Jade and Euclase I liked, although I had finished the show a while ago and rewatched a few episodes to kind of refresh me tonight. By happenstance, Neither of them had particularly big roles in the episodes I did rewatch, but my recollection is like good, strong performances. Liked them. I thought the Amethyst Twins were a lot of fun. I thought Teresa did a really good job of playing off herself like that. And just that, like, her dynamic with herself was really well done, which I know is often kind of tricky, so thumbs up for that.
Come play with us, foes, forever and ever and ever.
Oh, God!
It's the shining Land of the Lustrous crossover that no one wanted.
It's the Halloween art this year.
Yeah, right? Oh, no. And I also enjoyed Yellow Diamond. She gave a good, strong performance, and I think this is her in the last episode. She is talking with Rutile, who she missed an opportunity to talk to another gem who's not awake very often for reasons. And Rutile's kind of like messing with her a little bit, so they have a few shots of her chasing Rutile while yelling "Rutile!" And I thought, these are good cartoony yells. These are very on point. Good job. A+. Could definitely hear in a Western cartoon and would not think anything of it. A+.
Would gem
Would
again.
gem again.
Would gem
Grandma Yellow Diamond.
Exactly.
I think that's another really good moment. Oh, are you being senile over here, Rutile? It's like Rutile just like books it. And like, here's the other thing, like, everybody else like wears flats most of the series. Rutile is like almost always in heels.
Rutile's a little too extra for flats.
Rutile, if you ask our friend on Twitter, Nineclaw Tiger, about Rutile, he would gush about Rutile all day, because I believe Rutile is his favorite character. So, I want to start off with Teresa, actually, because, again, like I mentioned, when I went to go check on ANN for other roles that she had done, I didn't find any. So I was really impressed that she felt so natural playing double duty of these creepy twins, because a lot of shows, when there are twins, even if they are identical, hi Oron, they get two different actors to play them. In this case, they went with the same actress, and I believe they also did that in Japan too, so they probably just kept the casting consistent across languages. I thought she did a really good job. I definitely would like to see Teresa get more work at Sentai. I thought she had a really good foundation in this. Heidi as Jade. Heidi was probably one of my favorite, like, secondary cast performances. I love Heidi as Jade. Jade is, like, overworked, underpaid, the character. Gets
she is, like, Sleep the person, like, overworked personify. She's always tired.
I know. It's like, when, I think it's, like, episode 2 or 3 or something, where Rutile just comes out with the hammer and, like, hits them with it, and they're like, ah! And they let out this, like, scream, and it's like, why are you doing this to me? And Rutile's like, science, bitch. Rutile, I cannot wait to talk. I fucking love Rutile. I love Rutile's performance, too.
Let me get out my scissors. Snip, snip, snip.
Let me dissect you. It's like one of my favorite things. Let me just dissect you, please. And Jade's usually the one that has to wake up Sensei when Sensei falls asleep, and if you've never seen this show, when Sensei falls asleep, like, he smacks his head into, like, full-on stone and shatters it. And they also have to be like, everybody, Sensei's about to yell, hit the deck! Run! So it's like, they have kind of, like, the overworked, underpaid / mom persona in their voice. Eulicles I like, but I would say, Serena is a little bit on the weaker side for me. I don't think it's a bad performance. I just do, however, feel like it's a little bit weaker than some of the rest of the gems. Alison Summerall's Yellow Diamond is either hit or miss with me. I think it's a good performance, but there are some times where it's like, you sound like a little old lady, but your body and face does not have that, and that's what I mean about, like, character, like, because there's ages determined, but not by the way their bodies look. That is how they had to get that persona out, and I do think that was a good way to get it out. It's just kind of the whole, like, you look like a 12-year-old with a big butt.
There's a weird inherent uncanny valleyness to a lot of this show, which is on purpose.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it's easy to get over.
Yes. It's on purpose, not easy to get over, but I think Allison does a really good job, and especially bringing out a character. Even though Yellow Diamond has very small amount of dialogue compared to other characters in the show. Yellow Diamond has a very interesting arc that they're going through, where it's like, I don't want to lose this younger gem that I'm partnered with. I'm one of the oldest gems. My best friend, basically the only other person as old as I am, is basically in an eternal sleep, and I'm watching my young generation go over to a partner, and I think Allison really does deliver this really beautiful line of, you need to go with Bort. Bort's never lost a partner. So it's like, even if you go out there and fight the Lunarians, Bort's not gonna let you die. And become, like, a pair of earrings or some shit. Zychron earrings from this island we found. It's implied that this world is Earth, and we're gonna get to that, actually, in our next segment. If we're good to move on. Which, let's talk about the jellyfish people.
Oh, yes.
To which...
Oh, yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna butcher these names. There is Ventricus and Alcelaeus. Ventricus is the one that you kind of get to see the most of. They are the king of this race of people. And just to kind of go into this, I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you've actually seen the show. Basically, Fos gets attacked by them when the Lunarians drop the king's shell onto the gems. They eventually get Fos out. It turns into this adorable little slug creature that really, really wants to date their sensei. I love that. What is the slug saying? Hook me up with that hung! It says it would like to serve you for the rest of its life. But eventually it tricks Fos into going out to the sea, which is their home. And along the way reveals that once upon a time, this land was inhabited by a group of creatures called human, who eventually went back to the sea and split up into 3 pieces. The flesh, the bone, and the soul. The jellyfish people are the flesh, the bones are the gems, and the soul are the Lunarians. Eventually it turns out that the king was actually just tricking Fos and luring it out there so that the Lunarians would bring back their brother, who is a giant tentacle monster. That, like, has...
Match.
That kind of has bondage skin.
I mean, if you're a giant tentacle monster, it really comes with the territory.
Also, at one point, King Jellyfish does a part where it's like, Fos talks about boobs at one point. Credit to the writing team.
I forgot about that part.
Credit to the adaptive writing team. It's like, this is my pieces, and these are my most important parts. And they just, like, jiggle their jugs. Which is why I lovingly refer to this character as King Jelly Tits. Because I can't say their actual name. Also, I would if Sentai Filmworks is listening, I would 100% buy a plushie of the jellyfish as the slug thing. Like, I would buy that as a stuffed animal.
Yeah, I'd do that too.
Just adorable. So, playing Ventricus is Lucy Christian, and playing Alcelaeus is Maggie Fleckno. Lucy Christian, you'll know as characters such as Risa Harada in Indian Angel, Duck in Princess Tutu, and Toko Nanami in Bloom Into You. Maggie Fleckno you'll know as Yui Komori in the Diabolic Lover series, Mariella in Logged Horizon, and Mahiro Suyuzaki in Review Starlight. So Zen, if you don't mind starting us off talking about the flesh.
Well, first of all, I have to say Lucy Christian is perfectly cast. I love her in that role. And I'm not just saying that because I was a huge fan of Bloom Into You, and, you know, she does a great job in a lot of roles, but the fact that she changes her voice so well between, like, the slug creature and when she actually turns into the king jellyfish, and both of her performances are just wonderful. I loved it. I did have kind of a slight problem with Maggie Fleckno, not because it's bad voice acting. I think it's good voice acting, but it just does not match the character. And they keep referring to the brother as the brother, and he has like this deep womanly voice, and I don't know, like for some reason it works for the King Jelly Tits, but it doesn't work for him for some reason. I don't know.
Amon?
Where to start? I'm gonna agree. Lucy is great. there were two moments in this series where like my opinion of the show just rose overall. And the first one was like the couple episodes where Fos is hanging around with Ventricos, and Lucy is a big part of that. Like, she is just a delight playing this character. She is having so much fun playing this weird little sea slug who has the hots for their boss. And
he's such a hunk.
I want to. Please let me date him.
And also, this is an important example of why you should always stay on good terms with your translator if no one can understand you. If you piss them off, they will do you dirty. But Lucy is just a blast, and I agree that I thought she did a wonderful job of like adjusting her voice once Ventricos stops being a slug and starts being a mer person, slug, jellyfish person.
Jelly
tits.
Jelly. Exactly. once they're like a person, and it just throughout like her dynamic with Fos's actress was just really like on point and exceptionally solid. Like, because there's a good chunk of those episodes that are just the two of them talking to each other while they like walk on the sea bottom or whatever. And like I was never bored or disinterested. It was always incredibly well done. I have a little less to say about Maggie as Acclaimed, just because that character doesn't show up on screen as much. But I did like her performance as well. I thought it did suit the design of the character, although part of that's like Acclaimed has this sort of weird, not sort of androgynous, but just like gender ambiguous look to them, and I thought Maggie picked a voice that meshed with that very well for the time they were on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm gonna start with Maggie as Bondage Fish. I can't say their name, I'm sorry. Just
it's Latin. Latin is a
Bondage Fish. Bondage Fish. I was actually really surprised that was her, because I've watched a lot of really shitty Otome animes that Sentai has put out, and she's like the lead in a majority of them. And they are always very like, oh no, wispy kind of voices as like various male voice acted characters pin her to wall, bite her, roofies her. Anime was a mistake. Anime was a fucking mistake. So I actually was super surprised when I went on ANN and saw that was Maggie Fucknaway. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't compute. So I don't know how much it matches the character, because I don't remember this character from the Japanese that well, but I think everybody in this show, besides Sensei, is played by a woman regardless of language. Or at least somebody who identifies female. So I thought they were good. Don't know about how much it fit there. One of the things I could definitely get from that was the resentment and the anger that they had in their voice for being entrapped on the moon and, like being stabbed with fire a lot, because that's uncomfortable. But man, I want to preference this that originally when I found out that Lucy Christian was going to be King Jelly Tits, that I was slightly disappointed. Because I really, in my heart of hearts, really wanted that to be Monica Rial for one reason and one reason only. Because in Japan, that character is played by the same woman who plays Yona from Yona of the Dawn, and it blew my goddamn mind when I found that out when I was watching it in the Japanese. So, that being said, I absolutely loved it, and when I sat back and I really thought about the performance, I think that Lucy gets a lot done in the short amount of time that she's on screen.
She's in 2 episodes?
Yeah, well, 3, and one of them is mostly squeaking. Most of them is just squeaking when Diamond's carrying this little thing around in a basket.
I love how in the credits they list it as slug thingy before they give the name.
It's like slimy slug thingy, Lucy Christian. That's a thing. But it was really weird. When they were the tiny slug, my original thought was, oh my god, the slug sounds like the SpongeBob Pinky's Out voice. It's like, Pinky out! Pinky! You gotta be Pinky! You gotta be classy. Because it's like, you don't know it yet, but this thing is the king of the sea people. So therefore, it thinks it is hot shit. And it's talking to Fos like Lucy is talking to Fos as if Lucy is hot shit the king. And Fos is, like, not having any of this. And Lucy's gotta get that off. But the second they go into the water, now you have a character design that is very feminine, very, like overly hyperly feminine. Like, to the point where the show itself makes a joke about, you have boobs now. You have bouncy things on your chest that I don't know what those are. Trust us, Fos, neither do most men. But the way that Lucy delivers a lot of exposition in that sea walking scene is beautifully done. It never comes off as stiff, it never comes off as forced, and it comes off like listening to someone telling you a very confusing yet enticing fairy tale. In that way that she gets to pull across the regality of this character, while also dealing with the bitterness that is in Venticus's heart, because their people have been kidnapped by the Lunarians, are used and abused on the moon, they've escaped, they want their family back, and they have to hide this all from Fos, but yet, as they go down, and they take the stuff to give Fos the alloy for their legs, I got behind it. Like, it is probably one of my favorite performances in the show. I would definitely want to hear Lucy play another character like this again.
I also really like how she conveys a lot of the double meanings near the end of her speech, because she's going to betray her, and she says it without really revealing it. She does a great job.
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell that she worked with the subtlety of the script really well, so. And I'm actually, super mad, because I have the really nice release that Sentai did for this series, and she's going to a con event, and I can't get her to fucking sign this.
Oh.
It's plastic. It's plastic and wipe right off. Damn it.
Could you get her to sign the disc?
I don't want to have the disc.
Yeah, I guess that means you can't watch the DVD anymore.
Well, you can. You can. It'd just be really weird. As long as you don't get her to sign the back. Yeah. Probably get her to sign the front. Yeah. So, if we're good to move on, we're going to move on to the next group of characters who essentially are two really big influences on Fos, despite the small amount of time that they are on screen, and arguably the actual best character of the series. At least in my mind. So, there is... God, another fucking mouthful of a name. Paparacha. Mamma mia. Paparacha is one of the oldest gems that is there. However, their body was born with holes in it, meaning that they have to have those holes filled by other materials. And as the years go on, the amount of time they stay awake is lesser and lesser. Next,
insert crass sex joke here.
They walk around like tits out. So, then there's Antarctica. Antarctica is a gem that is liquid when it is hot. However, with the cold temperatures, they are able to form a solid crystal. They are as brittle as Fos's, yet because of the weather, they can stay hard. They're the only gem that stays awake.
Giggity.
I walked right into that. However, they usually take care of the winter. However, this year in the show, Fos is unable to sleep, so they start working with Fos. However, when Fos loses their arms to the ice flow and they have to replace it, this eventually spells the end for Antarctica, and they are taken by the Lunarians and enact probably the biggest change onto Fos as a character. Then there's Rutile, the actual best character in the show. Fight me. Rutile is the gem's doctor, who is basically the doctor character on the show, who Fos lovingly refers to as the Quack. But they, the biggest thing that to me that really stood out is that they are the one who puts Paparacha back together, or tries to keep putting Paparacha back together, because basically, and they have a great line, which is, if I can't fix you, what type of doctor would I be anyway? So, playing Paparazzi is Christina Kelly, playing Antarctica is Alyssa Merrick, and playing Rutile is Shelley Colleen Black. Christina Kelly you'll know as characters such as Akane Kawata in Flying Wish, Alice Nikiri in Food Wars, and Nao Hirayama in Takunomi. Alyssa Merrick, this is the only known role as of ANN that they have done. And Rutile, Shelley Colleen Black, you'll know as characters such as Kanon in Kanon, Hyoko in Gilgamesh, and Liza in Made in Abyss. So, Zen, if you would like to start us off on this segment.
Okay, let's start off with the character who I love the most. Rutile is amazing. I love Rutile. It reminds me a lot of that character from Baccano who deals with the bloody messes at the end of the show. She's funny. She loves dissecting things, but she's very scientific, and she has some of the funniest scenes. But when she, shows that she's putting Paparazzi back together, she has some of the most heartfelt scenes. I really love that. I love the voice acting there. Antarctica, I thought, was a little bit different than the sub, because in the sub, he was more personified as cold. Here, he was more, she, I should say, or they're more bratty, more reserved. I think it worked, but it was a little bit different. And I also really like Paparazzi. I think did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. These are three absolutely great performances. Where to start? Let's see. Christina Kelly is really good as Paparazzi. Everything about that character just sort of indicates, like, I'm asleep because if I weren't asleep, I would be too badass for the rest of the show. Just did like their design, the way their body language is when they're up and walking around, and I thought Christina just did a wonderful job of just projecting that, even in because they're probably only in the show for like not even half an episode,
It's like maybe 10 minutes at most.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought Christina did such a great job of being able to project all of that in such a short amount of time. It was just like, it's a very done in one performance, but it was at like absolutely top tier the entire time. What else? Also, like, Rutile's great. I agree. Like, I love me a mad scientist character, and Rutile is nothing if not a mad scientist character.
Mm-hmm.
Snip.
And Shelley is just a blast. She is wacky and out there as befitting that character, but she is good at not going too over the top. She knows where to, like, hold it. Not go too far. Not be too goofy. Keep it at just the right level of and also be able to pivot that when they're talking about this literally centuries-long project of trying to fix their friend who was born missing essential parts of themselves and trying to figure out how to make that work, and the clear, like, just sort of tragedy she feels in the fact that she's been working on this for hundreds of years and they still haven't figured out what to do yet. And just being able to capture that emotional range in this character so well. Shelley's just like a delight and is so good at doing that. And I was impressed. If when season 2 comes out, I hope we get even more performances by Shelley from this character, because she clearly is a lot of fun playing it. And then there's Antarctica, who might be my favorite character in the show. I don't know. I definitely know she's the center. They're the center of, like, my favorite 2 episodes, which are the ones where they and Foss are running around doing winter stuff until it all goes horribly, tragically wrong. And I thought, hold on, sorry, I've lost my note. I thought Alyssa was just really excellent at playing that character. Again, this is a character who is not in the show for that long. They are there for the better part of 2 episodes, and then they get shattered and taken away. And I thought Alyssa just did a great job of showing what this character's deal is, what their relationship is with Sensei, and also these other people who they know of but don't really interact with at all, and then having to deal with, like, all right, I have a partner, which I've never had before, and how am I going to make that work? and just the way that their and Foss's relationship builds until, I just like the bit at the end where like Foss is stuck in the gold cube and Antarctica's trying to pull him out, and eventually like breaks themselves because they're so fragile at that point. It was like, yeah, this is. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the show got really sad for me initially. Just like, yeah, this is heart. Yeah, this is like the first big moment of heartbreak for me. To be followed
Welcome to Crying the Anime.
Exactly. To be followed by many other moments of heartbreak, because the show, once you hit about like episode 8 or 9, it kind of doesn't start letting up at all. It's just like, nope. Nope. You had fun when Foss was trying to like find bugs or whatever. Yep. We're not doing that anymore. Shit got real, son.
No more bugs. Only suffering.
No. Only suffering. Alyssa, you said you couldn't find any other credits for. No, and I know often that doesn't necessarily mean they have no prior acting experience, because obviously like a lot of the Texas pools are drawn from like stage acting and stuff like that. But I was super impressed by this. I'm looking forward to hearing Alyssa in more stuff in the future, hopefully, because I thought she was very good at this, and I'd like to hear her again in other things.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I'll go with Alyssa first. Is that when I was coming in to watch the dub, I know that some other people on servers that I was on had watched it, and they were in two camps about Antarctica. They either thought it was not that great or really, really great. And I'm kind of somewhere in the middle with them. I think when they do the more dramatic stuff, that's where they shine the most.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are points where Antarctica has to kind of do like a lot more like expositional stuff. Like, hey, this is very clearly like the time we're building this up before we get to the drama. And I did feel like Alyssa was a little bit stiff there, or a little bit not used to voice acting. Obviously, like you said, Amon, a lot of people do stage acting. They are actors who act and probably still do stage act when they're not voice acting. That being said, I would really like to see Alyssa do, like I said with Teresa, come and do more shows. I think they put out their best foot forward on Antarctica. And Antarctica is also one of my other favorite characters in the show. I think that for the 2 episodes that they are on, that like, I did this in like 4 episode batches after work the last 2 nights. And as of the day of this recording, I shouldn't have stayed up as late as I did last night because I got up super early to watch the new Pokemon Direct. My body hates me right now. Wooloo is my child. But I think that they did do a good job. I do definitely agree with Zen, but this is a lot of a different take. This is a take of somebody that is a bit more bratty and more of a loner, being like, why am I being put with somebody, as opposed to being outright just cold and cut off from the rest of their kind. Moving on to Paparacha. Man, Christina Kelly just like steals the show for like the 10 minutes of talking she does. Just like, hey, I'm here. What up, bitches? Tits out. I loved Christina Kelly as Paparacha. I am very sad because I was like, I feel really bad that we're moving this character into this section because they literally only talk for 10 minutes, but they do a lot in that 10 minutes. There is something in Christina Kelly's performance that feels very cunning. And very like, hey, Fos, don't open up the wounds that you don't want to do, but you should totally open up those wounds. You should totally ask Sensei things that you shouldn't be asking Sensei about. It's like, wink wink, nudge nudge, Fos.
Honestly, if I had to say, Paparacha is one of my favorite characters. She isn't around for very much, but she's so important.
And her design is bitchin'.
It's like I was saying, if they were there more often, the show would just be about them. It'd be about Paparacha beating up Lunarians.
Looking
good.
Land
doing
of the Paparachas.
Yeah, exactly. Look, they're voiced by Romy Park.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, that's Romy Park's character.
Like, it's like they had to use stupid video game language. They had to nerf her a little bit, or else she would just take over the entire show.
It's true.
In this case, nerfing is centuries-long comas, but what you gonna do?
Just hey guys. Also, B, they just let her sleep in a box. Just Brulite every so often just rolls the box out. Hey, babe. Slice.
Return to sender.
I keep my girlfriend in a box.
Let's be frank, Rutile would keep her girlfriend in a box.
I mean, she has lots of holes to use.
That she does. And Rutile's got the tools to work them.
Oh, we're all going to hell.
Ah, beep beep. Just, yep. I love Christina Kelly as. I'm like, damn. Why? Fuck, man. Christina Kelly needs to be in the show more. I just love her voice. Paparacha sounds like. Paparacha also sounds like really attractive too. So, like, hell yeah. And then, man, I love Shelley Colleen Black. I love Shelley Colleen Black in most things I've watched her in the last year. She is just so good as Rutile. Like, Rutile is probably my favorite. She is probably my favorite performance in this show. She is. She's funny when she needs to. She's serious when she needs to. Just like when Faust calls them a quack, and they're like, mm-hmm. And just the whole, like, oh, so the senile people are getting together and talking, and just running away, and just, there is so much heart to it, and they are kind of Faust's mentor a little bit, because they are the one who is always like, well, what about Cinnabar? And they are the one who brings up one of the things about Faust is, the more body parts that Faust loses, the more memories that Faust will lose. Their memories are tied to their bodies. And the way that Shelley, gets this across is really fantastic. It is one of those things, like, we can sit here and talk about it, but you need to go, like, actually watch the dub to understand why Shelley's Roulette is really good. Like, if I had to recommend anything, just watch for Faust's performance and Roulette's alone. Not to say that everybody else is bad, those two are just my two personal favorites. But I dug the shit out of it, and I would 100% watch a show that is just Roulette and Paparacha, like, bickering at each other like an old married couple. I would watch that show. 100%.
Just fuck already.
I don't know.
With what? They're rocks.
They'll figure it out. Roulette's a doctor. They can figure it out. Speaking of just fuck already, Diamond and Bort. They're just... Diamond is a nice, sweet gem who is one of the hardest gems, but she breaks easily. She is sweet. She is soft. Bort has a stick up their ass. A mile wide. They hard, they strong, they the fighter. They are also just bad with people. Also, Bort apparently sleep murders.
Sounds about right.
Don't worry, I've got a sheet. We can fix this. That's one of my other favorite things to try. Antarctica and Faust. A sheet, really? Yes, it works. Watch. They just put the sheet over Bort and, like, burrito them. And then they do it to Sensei. Which is great. So...
Just in case.
Hey, man. You never know when the guy's just gonna smack his head into the wall.
He's got a hard head. He dents that wall that one time.
He also has a hard voice.
Yeah, he does. And you never know when the urge to Bohemian Rhapsody headbang is gonna come and catch you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone just needs to, like, do a compilation of that man, like, looping his head into a wall of the Bohemian Rhapsody. So, playing Diamond is Savannah Manzel, and playing Bort is Genevieve Simmons. Savannah Manzel, you will know as characters such as Ayumi Yamogu in Girls und Panzer, Kotaku Hanayagai in Review Starlight, and Yui Tada in Tada Never Falls in Love. Genevieve Simmons, you'll know as characters such as Kanata Futaki in Little Busters, Eri Urasis in Number 6, and Ryu Lion in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon. So, Zen, if you would like to start us off talking about Get Just Fuck Already, the characters.
I really like both of these performances. I think Bort really gets across this kind of a tomboy attitude, like, I'm better than you, But, when they have the down-to-earth parts when they talk to Diamond, you really get the idea that there's a vulnerability behind the performance. And Diamond just sounds so sweet. I love her.
Right, Amon?
Yeah, these are also two performances I liked a lot. I enjoyed Savannah as Diamond. I thought there was a fun, in story and in casting irony to, Diamond. We all know what diamonds are. That's a really hard, precious gemstone. You can put it in drills, use it to cut things. The only thing that you can use to shape diamonds are other diamonds. And then having the irony of, Diamond as a character is, not the toughest, and also, giving them this, very, soft, gentle voice, and having them be somebody who is not, like Bort, who I think is more the kind of personality you expect from somebody called Diamond. See also, Steven Universe.
Yeah.
For a very on-point comparison for what that gemstone suggests as a character. And instead it's they're very kind and gentle, and they want to be friends with people. When Foss is struggling, her instinct is to help Foss because they're good. They're good people who want to do good to other people. And I thought Savannah did sort of capture that irony well. And Genevieve is fun as Bort because Bort is just so, what an angry little bastard. just gonna fuck shit up. Gonna be mad about it. Gonna be surly and pissed off all the time because that's who
I'm
I
gonna
am.
kick your ass with my hair, and then I'm gonna berate you for not being strong enough.
Basically,
bitches.
And Genevieve's clearly having a lot of fun playing Bort. I wasn't know how to articulate it. It's one of the performances that feels like, oh yeah, that's exactly how that character would sound and behave. It's almost hard to talk about it as acting because it feels, if not natural, it just feels so appropriate to what's going on, for this character and in the story. It is rough and tumble, and very, very good, just like Bort. Yeah.
Alright, let's start with Bort. Like I said, Bort's got to stick up their ass a mile wide. They are tough. They are the tough cookie who I feel they think everybody else really sucks at this job.
I mean, in comparison to Bort, everyone else does really suck at this job.
God, you imbeciles. But no, I love Genevieve as Bort. Bort, they get, of course, Bort's anger and gruffness without 100% turning their voice into a low, rumbling growl. They don't always talk that's a bad voice. They don't always talk like they're gritting their teeth. They talk like they're mad and they have a stick up their butt. But they don't talk like they're constantly, gritting their teeth and saying their words through it. And I do think that Genevieve also really does excel when Bort is trying to be vulnerable, because the really standout Diamond and Bort episode is the episode called Shiro. I believe it's that episode. Where the giant dog Lunarian is running through, and Bort's gotta watch Diamond from the outside fight it by themselves. And even though Diamond's legs have been cut off, their eyes get shaved off their face, and it is the most metal shit you'll see ever. Bort has this really quiet, kind of scared voice about Diamond. About Diamond being hurt, and were they a bad partner? Were they kind of did they let Diamond go to the wayside because in their own pursuit of power? And I think Genevieve gets it across really well. So yeah, remember when I said there was one performance that I thought was really good and I couldn't get into it for the life of me? It's Diamond. I don't know what it was. I could not get into this performance. I have watched a couple of other shows with Savannah in it. I really have. She just... I don't know, there were times where I felt like Diamond was a little too childish. There were times where she was more adult. There were times where it was a little too stiff. For me, it was an inconsistent performance across the entire show that I do think there were points that she excelled in, like the part where her eyes get cut off when they're fighting the dog. I think she really nails that scene. But there's also a part in the first time you see Diamond where they're explaining how Bort and their bodies were, where it is very clearly like a big kind of actual real world science explanation of how a Bort and a Diamond works that came off as very stiff and kind of stilted at points. Diamond, they are the one character that took me the longest to get into as a performance. I don't think Savannah did a bad job. Not at all. It's just a performance that I'm a little bit more ambivalent to. I could take it or leave it. Like, they're good, it's just I wasn't super impressed by them. And I feel bad, because they are a good actress, and I have, in the shows that I have watched, she has been one of the weaker performers in there. I know, Karuku wasn't my favorite performance in Review Starlight, and Yui Tada was by far, like, and as somebody who really loves the Tada dub, Yui was by far the weakest performance in that show for me. So this is like, it's like, and this to me was like one of the biggest characters that I've seen her play yet. So it was like, okay, it's like, you're good, you're not as good as maybe like some of the other people in there, and that's not like a huge knock against you, it's just, I would like to see, if I watch another show where she's a character of this much prominence, a little bit more improvement. So, wow, we are getting through this like super fast. It's good because people are always like, your episodes are too long.
Yeah, take that, guy.
Take that, haters. Yeah.
Haters gonna hate. What you gonna do?
I can't use that to transition into this, so let's talk about the biggest mysteries in the show. That being Sensei Kongo and Cinnabar. Sensei is this big, mysterious, bald man that takes care of all of the gems and teaches them about the world, and he is very humanoid. He doesn't look like the Lunarians, who, by the way, are like some of the coolest designed things you'll ever see in an anime ever. With one of the most bitchin' themes ever made. He is very human. He falls asleep. He can shoot magic rock things. He can slam his head into a wall, and he's probably got some connection to the Lunarians that everybody doesn't know about, but they also kind of know about, but they won't say anything. And he also gives everybody on the island jobs. Cinnabar is a gem who's even weaker than Phos, but has a toxin that runs through their body, which I believe is mercury?
Yes, because as I looked up, Cinnabar is a form of mercury sulfide, which is mercury and sulfur. So yes.
That is toxic to the other gems and the life on the island. Therefore, they live out in a cliff on the sea and do the night watch, the only job that they can do without hurting anybody. Phos vows in their life to find a job better than the night watch for Cinnabar. Playing Sensei Kongo is Brian Mathis, and playing Cinnabar is Avery Smithhart. While Brian Mathis is an actor who has done a lot, this is the only role that I've seen him do at Sentai proper. So, and I usually try to, when I host episodes and I'm talking about actors that go back and forth between different companies, I do try to stay with shows that they have done for that particular company. However, people would know Brian Mathis as Elias in The Ancient Magus Bride, Juzo Okita in Space Battleship Yamato 2199, and Bacchus in Rage of Bahamut Genesis. Avery Smithhart you'll know as characters such as Goei Ishikawa in Release the Spice, Alexandra Marguerite in Tada Never Falls in Love, and Rika Seo in Suriname. So Zen, if you don't mind starting us off.
Honestly, I think this was perfect casting for both of them. Like, I love The Ancient Magus Bride, and this is a very similar role for Sensei, so I think it was just perfect casting. I think he really gets across both the emotion that he feels as a sensei while still trying to be in charge. He does show a lot more, I think even more than the sub in my opinion, because he gets across a little bit more complexity. It's a similar type voice, but I really like what he did with the character. And, oh god, Cinnabar was perfect. Cinnabar, in my eyes, was one of the top voice characters, simply because it's a character that has so much to get across. And it's one of those that if you do it wrong, it's not going to go very well. But, the scene that I really fell in love with his performance was when Diamond was talking to Cinnabar about trying to bring Phos back from the slug form because they thought Phos was a slug, and the entire time you could see Cinnabar was really fighting with her own emotions, and the performance really sold it. I love both of these.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. These are both like two really strong roles. Brian's really good as Sensei. He's, obviously Brian is good at playing characters who are like, nice, deep, authoritative voice. He plays Ames. He plays the captain in Star Blazers. He has, he can definitely bring that to the role. But I like that his character isn't just limited to that. He's a character who kind of swaps between being boss of all these gems and dad. And I think he handles that very well. He can be like a little more like stern and like, this is what you need to do, but also much more like kind and sympathetic and gentle. I think in particularly like in the episode, the end of the episode where after Antarctica shatters, the way he is like trying to help Phos process this and move forward and not just wallow in grief for the rest of the season. He's just got a very strong presence about him. Which also helps when you start realizing that there are a lot of questions about Sensei that don't make sense. Like, why are you here, human? Why are you several hundred years old? What is your deal? Why does this dog know you? That's what I want to know. Why is the dog knowing?
Why do you shatter things with a voice?
Yeah, what are you? I think Brian's performance is really strong. And I will second. I think Avery is really great as Cinnabar. I think she does a good job of displaying Cinnabar's angst without having it go into like kind of stereotypical kind of like whiny teenagery mode. There's like there is a sense of legitimate tragedy behind what Cinnabar is going through and her frustration at their lot in life and just how they feel they need to like live in order to do what they're supposed to do, but not be, a literal danger to everyone they know. I think that's like that. I think that's, I feel like with characters like this, it can be very easy to fall too much into kind of the tragic side where it sounds like, someone complaining a lot. And I thought Avery avoided that incredibly well. I thought that was just a very strong performance for this character who, like Cinnabar and Phos are kind of the two characters who I am most excited for a season 2 for. Like there's at the end of that last episode, this is the story that I want to see the most. To the point where like I might start picking up the manga just because I don't know if there's going to be a season 2 on the horizon anytime soon. But like I really enjoyed Cinnabar's character, and I thought Avery was a huge part of that. Just a really excellent top tier performance.
Brian being Sensei Kongo, I remember when the trailer announcing this dub had come out on for Sentai, and I saw this name and I was like, "Excuse me." I was like, "You're not John Swayze or David Wald. What the fuck? You're not. What the fuck are you? No, go back to your home." No. It's really weird because, like, I really heard a lot of Elias in this performance. But I was originally thinking, I'm like, I don't know how much I resonate with this because Elias is a very different character from Sensei. There's a lot more going on with Elias that's more open than with Sensei. But I think Brian does a really fantastic job of getting Sensei across. His Sensei is the biggest mystery in this series. Like, you learn very little about him, and when you do learn things about him, it's very much brushed up as don't think about it. And, like, not like don't think about it as in, like, the show is trying to purposely, like, the show is just doing it to be like, it's not like the fucking Stand Arrow and JoJo's, where it's like, don't think about it. Or midichlorians.
It's don't think about it because it's a mystery, not don't think about it because it'll make your brain hurt.
It's don't think about it like Phos shouldn't think about it because like Paparazzi says, sometimes asking these questions opens up greater wounds. Just like, don't think about it. Shut up and do your job, folks. So, I think to me, one of my favorite kind of deliveries he has is when he's with Shiro, the giant Lunarian dog. He's like, Shiro, where's your hand? And Faust's like, excuse me, bitch? What? I heard that. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. Shut up, Faust. I really, really enjoyed it. By the end of the show, I was like completely on board with him. Especially because I really do want a season 2 of this to see what the hell is up with fucking Sensei. And then, Avery this is probably my favorite Avery Smith-Hart role that I've heard so far out of Avery. She is just so perfect as Cinnabar. She is alone, vulnerable, and yet trying to hide it all from people, and so smart, and just, it's so beautiful to listen to. Like, I could listen to Avery as Cinnabar, like, read a geology textbook and not be bored. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful performance. It is really hard to put into words, because Cinnabar is this character you don't see a ton of, and yet they held so much influence and power over the core driving narrative of Land of the Lustrous. They are the sole motivating factor for why Faust starts their journey, honestly. Like, yeah, you could say that Sensei giving Faust the encyclopedia is, but eventually that even turns into, I want to find Cinnabar a new way to live, because Cinnabar is so alone and stuff. And I really like Cinnabar's banter off of Diamond, and the way their tone matches off against Savannah's Diamond, where they are both the same age as each other. And yet, you can tell that based on their life experiences, it's really shaped them as beings, and Diamond is a lot more carefree and light compared to Cinnabar's excruciating pain and loneliness. And I think that's such a hard thing. Extreme pain and loneliness is a very hard thing to get across in any language without sounding really whiny and really emo. So hats off to Avery for her brilliant performance as Cinnabar. Thank you. Thank you. So, now that we've gotten everybody else out of the way, let's talk about the rock in the room. The main character, the actual disaster child, that is Phosphilite. The weakest gem, the gem that starts out, who can't even, like, if you look at Phos funny, they would break.
Yep.
And turns into which I can only describe as the metaphor as I've re-rolled my D&D character. Yeah, Phos goes through a lot. Phos loses their legs, Phos loses their arms, Phos loses their friend, Phos gets PTSD.
Phos knows there's a bunch of things that happen that they don't remember anymore.
Yeah, Phos can talk to slugs.
Poor Phos, like, she goes through the ringer through this entire season. I feel so bad for her. She can't catch a break.
Yeah, Phos goes through more in 12 episodes than, like, some shonen characters go through in an entire show. Like, Phos goes through some shit. Phos has seen some shit. So, playing Phosphilite is Sarah Wiedenhoff. Sarah Wiedenhoff at Sentai Filmworks has played Teresa Wagner and Tada Never Falls in Love, but you would also know her characters such as Yuria Misaki in Space Battleship Yamato 2199 and Charmy Pappitson in Black Clover. So Zen, if you would like to start us off talking about Phos.
You know, this is just perfect casting. This is... Her as Faust is... I don't really have the proper words to say it, because Faust is a character that's very hard to play. Throughout the entire 12 episodes, she has to go from this bubbly, carefree, happy-go-lucky person into someone who is cold and somewhat unfeeling and forgets a lot of things. This is a very hard thing to play, but she does it perfect. Just perfect.
Amon?
Yeah, no, this is wow. This is great. As we've stated, Fos goes through a lot in this show. Fos gets to take that idea of, like, sometimes to move forward you have to forget part of your past, and then literalizes it in the most horrifying way possible. And Sarah just does a great job with this character, both in matching the arc they have to go through, while making it feel like the same person. Like, I feel like I feel even that nice scene in the last episode where, like, Fos is walking through the castle and, like, sees their younger self, like, looking at themselves in the pond. And I feel like you can see both, like, the evolution that character has gone through, but also, like, they are still the same. They're the same being. They have that same, like, kind of wants and needs to them. Tying back to the fact that, like, one of the things they want to do at the end is make good on that promise to, like, try and find Cinnabar a better thing to do. Even if what they have to offer, like, isn't really that much better, it's at least something. And I thought Sarah did a good job of maintaining that core personality, even though Fos goes through so much and gets just so much more, like, jaded and worldly as the shows go on, and they have to, like, just deal with more stuff, both, like, internally and externally. And yeah, it's just a really well done performance. This is a, like, the show is carried by, the show is obviously carried by Fos because Fos is the main character, but I think Sarah has been completely up to the task of carrying that in her performance. She is great. I get, like, this is one of the things where, like, if we get a season 2, I want that to happen because I want to hear Sarah do more of this. She is so good as this character, and I cannot sing the praises of it highly enough. I would agree with what you said earlier, Megan. I think, like, Fos is unquestionably, Sarah's performance as Fos is one of the reasons to watch this dub, if nothing else.
Agreed.
Okay, so it's so weird because before I had mentioned to some people that I was going to be watching the dub of the show, and a good friend of mine on another server said, this is Sarah Wiedenhef's best performance ever. I don't know if I can say that. I think it is one of her strongest performances ever. I think Sarah Wiedenhef has just, as an actress, been constantly knocking it out of the park for, like, 3 to 4 years now. Like, she is a phenomenal actress, and this is, I want to say, by far her most complex character that she's had to play. Like, look, I get it, guys. Sarah Wiedenhef's in a lot of things that are really big, like Black Clover. Like, okay, Pappy doesn't have a lot of character. Poppy doesn't have a lot of character development. She's just a lot of fun. But she's in a lot of things like Dragon Maid, like Grimguard. She's in a lot of bigger shows. This is, to me, however, the most I've seen her range tested. Because while she had Fos from episode 1 to episode 12 has a similar tone of voice, there are so many minute things that Sarah does as an actress for this character that shows these changes. Like, even Fos from episode 1 to, I believe they lose their legs in episode 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds right, yeah.
Even Fos, like, when Fos washes up on the shore with Cinnabar without their legs, and just the way that Sarah portrays, like, hey, Cinnabar, guess I lost my legs. Like, even that is, and their worldview is vastly different from, the Fos that we see in episode 1. Sarah, by far, gives, I think, the best performance in the whole show. And that is because Sarah also gets the most to work with in the entire show. Fos has the lion's share of the dialogue and the lion's share of the development, and Sarah takes that and runs with it, without also bringing it over the top. And when Fos changes, and you can't say for the better, which is a big theme of this show. When Fos changes, Fos doesn't, and Fos is going through trauma. Like, Fos can't sleep at night anymore. Fos has these strikingly apocalyptic visions of Antarctica. Like, outright horror shit of Antarctica. Like, one of my kind of favorite, like, it's a dark comedy kind of moment. Where, Bort has just kind of confronted, Fos about, joining them in battle. And Fos is, like, leaning back and sees Cinnabar and goes, yeah, I know, courage, I've gotta have courage, but what has courage ever gotten to me? Alright, jellyfish, which one of you thinks that I should go and join Bort? And two of them jump out. Well, 50-50 is one. And just, like, that jaded tone without sounding, like, cartoonishly cynical is something that a lot of actors I don't think have mastered. And Sarah just portrays it. And I think Sarah really embodied the spirit that is Phosphorite and their incredibly intense journey over 12 episodes. A lot of people are probably, like, super on the fence about this, because I think in terms of the anime community, and by anime community, I mean, like, not the subsections that are, like, into dubs, a lot of people think that the Japanese version of Fos is the definitive take on the character, and I would disagree. I think Sarah does, while Sarah's take may not be 100% the exact same as Fos's Seiyu, Sarah's take on it is an amazing adaptation of what the character is as well through a different eye. That was a lot. That was a lot. So I guess, if we're all ready, if we want to move into our final thoughts on the dub as a whole, Zen, if you want to start us off.
Overall, I really do enjoy this dub. I don't think it's one of my top, but when it is standout, it has some really great performances. What really hurts it is that, there's only 12 episodes, and a lot of these characters are only around for a short amount of time, and I feel we really need more of them to get a definitive idea of how I feel. But when we get to, like, stuff like Sensei and Cinnabar, Rutile, and Fos, it's fantastic. So yeah, I do really enjoy it.
Amon.
Yeah, this was a really, really strong dub. I think this might be at least, like, a pretty good contender for, like, my, at least of the dubs from Sentai I've heard, like, as of late. This is a pretty strong contender for, like, maybe being the best. Although I've not seen everything they've put out lately, obviously. This is just, it's really strong all around. I think, as we've mentioned, like, a lot of the leads give out excellent performances that I think really match and support the material. I think it's, like, it's really well directed. It's really well written. I just think it's super great. If I have complaints, a lot of it is, like, I would like a season 2, because I think they're obviously, like, this ends in a good place for this being an incomplete story when it was made. But I would like a season 2. I'd like to see more of these characters. I think that these are performances I'd like to hear again. And aside from that, and like I said, like, the biggest complaint I can maybe give is, like, as common with a lot of shows with a big ensemble, there are a lot of performances that are, like, very good without necessarily standing out. And I think, like, if that's the biggest complaint I can come up with for a dub, like, that's a pretty good dub. Not gonna lie. Yeah, like, I was really happy with this. It is very good.
Well, not personally one of the dubs I find to be, like, super strong from Sentai Filmworks, nor the director. This is a really solid dub. This is probably a B+, A- for me, in terms of Sentai dubs. I do think in the last couple of months, because I've watched dubs for series such as Love Stage, Made in Abyss, Tada, those are, to me, a little bit stronger. As, Bloom It To You is another one that I forgot to say that I think is really fantastic.
Bloom Into You is perfection.
Yep.
You guys are watching.
Bloom Into You's dub is really good. David Wald does really good dubs. You should also watch Love Stage, because that's a really fucking good show. I think this does a really good job. This keeps, like Zenith said earlier in the episode, keeps the spirit of why Land of the Lustrous is so well regarded. This is probably one of my favorite shows aesthetically and sound design wise. There is very few things that look and feel like Land of the Lustrous. And I genuinely think that the dub brings that experience over in a way that is accessible. It did do one thing that I liked, which is it did make the story a little bit more clear for me. Going back through the series, I did feel like I understood the show a bit more. I would 100% recommend this dub for people. I don't know if the show itself would make my best of the year award. While there are, for the W's, while there are performances in here that I could see making their way on for underrated or to like newbies to watch, potentially a best actress in there, I do think this is just a little bit shy of sticking a perfect landing for me, but it does do a really, really great job with what it's going for. So, any other final thoughts from people?
It's very good. Watch it.
Also, season 2 when? Season 2 when, please?
When season 2 of this and Bloom Into You, please.
Just give me.
Or Orange have to be finished making everyone into a furry in a couple months.
Yeehaw!
In the fall. It's gonna be like Black Sad first got published in English. It's like, oh no, these animals are attractive.
Well, if Mamoru Hosoda
I did not know this about myself.
Well, if Mamoru Hosoda didn't do his job, Studio Orange will finish it. Oh god. Every time Amon and Roots tell me that story, I fucking lose it. So, with that being said, if you would like to watch Land of the Lustrous, you can watch it via Amazon Prime in sub, or you can watch it on High Dive in both sub and dub format, and I believe they also have the Spanish language version of this dub. Unfortunately, none of us, at least I don't speak Spanish, so we didn't talk about that. You can also purchase both the regular edition release, which also does include the Spanish dub on it, as well as the Japanese and the English, or if you can find it, I believe they are still in stock. If you can get a hold of it, Land of the Lustrous has a bitchin' steelbook. Mm-hmm. It is very nice, and it's like $40 on Amazon right now. So please grab it if you can. You will not be disappointed. So we have time. Please tell everybody who you are and where they can find you.
Hey everybody, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, and I have been kind of in a limbo state for the past 6 months because of surgery and fires and food poisoning and all this other stuff. But when I get back to work, which is hopefully not gonna be soon, you can find me at Twitter at twitter.com/ZenithWillRule, or I do stuff on Twitch, twitch.tv/ZenithWillRule, and on my YouTube at ZenithWillReview.
You can find me on Twitter at AmonDuelUS. Duel has 2 U's in it. I talk about movies and music and comic books and things like that. And occasionally I'll complain about some old video game that came out like 8 months ago, but I only just got around to playing now. I also have a dusty old song if you like, but I can save that for later.
Do it.
Sure. Alright, so initially I wanted to find a song about rocks. There aren't a lot of songs about rocks. I found one They Might Be Giant song that isn't really about rocks, and that's about it. So instead I just went for something that this kind of reminded me of, I guess. So I'm going to recommend to you, you should go listen to the song Nightmare Girl by Aimee Mann, which is possibly the greatest song ever made, and somehow it was only like a B-side and a bonus track on the deluxe edition of the album it came out on. I really don't understand why. It's literally perfect. And you should all go listen to it right now. Pause this podcast and go listen to it. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, wherever. Do it. Because I'm telling you to.
Alright, cool. So my name is Megan, you can follow me. Sorry, I didn't mean to come off like a callous. I'm an asshole!
I see how it is.
I love you and your dusty old songs. When can we hang out again so you can just live tweet, like, dramatic read voice actors eating chicken again?
I mean, A-Fest, I guess?
Yay! So you can follow me on Twitter at Queenera2. I shitpost, I do things, I hang out on the Funimation Discord, and yeah, that's all I do for about now. So that's it. We're done. We're free. Everybody can go play with the rocks.
I would like to play with the rocks.
Yes. Be gay. Do rock crimes.
Well, this is Pride Month. That is an appropriate idea.
Yes.
Good night, everybody. Be gay.
Good night, nerds.
Good night, everybody, and otaku on, and be gay.